Hey everyone, so you hear the term next-generation firewall thrown around all the time, right? But what does that actually mean? Today we're going to get under the hood of Palo Alto Networks firewalls and really see the core technologies that changed the whole game, moving us way beyond simple packet filtering into the world of true application intelligence.
All right, so what is the big deal? What really separates a modern firewall from those, old-school packet filters we used to rely on? Well, it's not just one single feature. It's a totally different way of thinking. It's about a combination of intelligent systems all working together in sync.
So, the whole foundation of this is that Palo Alto firewalls are stateful. Now, what does that mean? Instead of just looking at tiny data packets in isolation as they fly by, the firewall actually tracks the entire conversation from start to finish. It's kind of like having a security guard who remembers your whole discussion instead of one who makes you show your ID for every single word you say.
Okay, before we dive into the real magic, let's talk about where you even put this thing. The two most popular ways are virtual wire and layer 3 mode. Virtual wire mode is pretty cool because it acts like this invisible bump on the network cable. It can inspect all the traffic passing through it without even needing an IP address. You get all this powerful security without having to completely re-architect your network. Then there's the more traditional layer 3 mode, where it acts like a router, sitting between your different network segments, directing traffic and securing it at the same time.
Another core idea you have to grasp is security zones. Instead of writing rules for, say, port 1 and port 2, you group your interfaces into these logical areas. The absolute best way to think about them is as gated communities for your network. You might have a trusted zone for your internal employees, a DMZ for your public-facing web servers, and of course, an untrusted zone for the big, bad internet. Now, traffic can't just roam free between these communities. It needs a specific policy, like an explicit permission slip to get from one zone to another.
All right, with that foundation laid, we finally get to the heart of what makes Palo Alto so next-gen. It really boils down to three core technologies. I like to call it the intelligence trinity. These three systems work together to give you a level of visibility and control that was just unheard of before.
The first pillar of this trinity is App ID, and honestly, this was a total game changer. See, older firewalls only saw port numbers. Port 80 meant web traffic. Port 25 meant email. Simple, but modern apps are sneaky. They can run on any port they want. App ID just ignores the port. It looks deep inside the traffic to figure out what the actual application is. This lets you write rules that make sense, like block Facebook or allow Salesforce. And you know what? They just work, no matter how that app tries to connect to the internet.
So if App ID tells you the what, our second pillar, User ID, tells you the who. This is huge. User ID hooks into your company directories like Active Directory and maps traffic to a real person or a group, not just some random IP address. So your security rules suddenly transform from allow IP address 10.1.1.50 to allow the sales team to use Salesforce. You're not managing a confusing list of IP addresses anymore. You're managing actual business rules. And the trinity is complete with Content ID. This is your threat prevention engine. So after App ID and User ID give the green light, say your sales team is using Salesforce, Content ID kicks in and scans that allowed traffic for any hidden dangers. It's actively looking for things like viruses, malware, and exploits. It's the final security check to make sure that even the traffic that looks legit is actually safe.
So how do we actually use all this intelligence? Well, it's mainly through two kinds of policies. First, think of a security policy as the club's bouncer. Its job is to look at the zones, the user ID, and the app ID to decide who and what gets in or out. Then you've got NAT policy. Think of this one more like the mailroom. It doesn't decide if the package is allowed, it just changes the address label. It's what translates your internal private IP addresses to public ones so you can get on the internet. And then back again.
But there's a massive challenge in all of this: encryption. I mean, so much of today's traffic is hidden inside SSL and TLS. How can a firewall inspect what it can't even see? The answer is decryption. The firewall basically performs a kind of authorized man-in-the-middle action. First, it intercepts the encrypted traffic. Then it decrypts it so it can take a good look with App ID and Content ID. After that, it applies all your security policies. And finally, it re-encrypts the traffic and sends it on its way. This is absolutely critical for finding threats that love to hide inside those encrypted tunnels.
You're probably thinking, doesn't all this inspection just slow everything to a crawl? And with older firewalls, you'd be right, but not with the SP3 architecture. The best analogy is a super efficient assembly line. Old firewalls would pass traffic from one inspection engine to the next, adding delay at every single step. Palo Alto's single-pass parallel processing does it all at once. The packet comes in, and boom, App ID, User ID, and Content ID are all applied in parallel. You get top-notch security without that performance hit.
Now, this is all fantastic for a single firewall, but what if you're a global company with dozens or even hundreds of these things? That's where Panorama steps in. Panorama is the air traffic control tower for your entire fleet of firewalls. It's a centralized management platform where from one screen you can push out policies, check logs, and run reports for every device. It ensures everything stays consistent and saves an incredible amount of time. The whole platform is really built to scale for big companies with a few other key tools. For example, VYSYS lets you slice up one physical firewall into multiple totally separate virtual ones, which is perfect for managed service providers or just keeping departments isolated. High availability, or HA, is all about uptime. You pair up devices so if one fails, the other one takes over instantly. Global Protect extends all that great security out to your remote users with a secure VPN. And finally, Zone Protection is your frontline defense, stopping nasty things like network floods and scans before they can even get to your policy rules. It's really a complete toolkit for enterprise-grade security.
So we've walked through how these firewalls can identify the exact application, the specific user, and the hidden threats, even inside encrypted traffic, all while keeping things running fast. And that really brings us to a final, pretty crucial question. As encryption becomes the default for almost everything we do online, is this ability to decrypt and actually inspect our traffic no longer just a nice feature to have, but an absolute necessity for modern security? That's definitely something to think about.